So with Thanksgiving coming up, this is a guide for now and future understanding on what to expect when you show up. The first person you're going to encounter is a low-level encounter. And this is a relative that's going to ask, so who you dating now? Well, so you still ain't got no kids? This is a relative that think they funny and everything's a joke. But you'll notice like everybody kind of got a fake laugh with this person because typically like this person bought the food and they kind of the one that got a lot of money in the family and you know they got their life together and they co-sign the house. You usually find them by the couch near the door watching people come in. But I mean they pretty cool, so you really don't got to worry about them. Now, the level 2 family members you're going to meet is the fake successful relative. Like they're going to have a nice car and that's it. But for whatever reason, they gonna want you to invest your money with them and they can talk about fixing your credit at dinner and they could sell you real estate. But don't worry, this relative is usually beefing with level 1 relative and it's usually about some money that's owed. So level 2 relative will usually fake act like they gotta take a phone call, but they'll usually leave before everybody starts getting there. So that's that. Now, level 3 relatives come in pairs. They're usually brothers or sisters that don't get along. So you will see one in the kitchen and you're gonna see one in the front room by the TV, or you might just see one in the basement. But they will only speak to you if you speak to them. But be wise which one you pick to speak to first, because the one in the kitchen will help make your plate. And trust me, you gonna need that when it's time to eat. And the one in the front room, that's the one that's gonna ask you about people you don't even date no more. And if they trap you up, the one in the kitchen won't talk to you anymore until next year. So my personal advice, just go for the one that's like in the kitchen. Now, level 4 relatives, this is the one who cooked the food. You can tell because while everyone is all dressed up in the house, they look like they about to go to bed. They might have a bonnet on their head and wearing leggings, and they look like they about to go do laundry because at this point, they don't really care about their appearance because they did all the running around and they know they have the power to either make everyone full or sick. So you don't want to piss them off. And if you try to talk to them, like usually their response is going to be, can you hand me that? Or can you put that over there? So anyway, relative level 5. This is usually a cousin that will bring their boyfriend or girlfriend to the house. And this relative has the ability to make things awkward for you. Like they have a power to force you to try to remember a person they dating, even though you never met them. Like they'll say stuff like you met they date at some other event, and the more you keep saying I don't remember, the longer they're gonna keep going. So it's best to say, oh yeah, I remember them, and end it with, so how you been to they date? The fact is this relative dates so many people even they forgot who they bring around the family. So now level 6 relative. See, these relatives actually won't come into the house. These are the relatives that's gonna pull up and double park their car in front, but will call your phone for you to come outside just to ask who's inside. So if you come out, you'll notice they'll have some oddball looking people in the car with them. But this relative will tuck your ear. But this is a good thing, because this means they really rock with you and trust you. Almost to the point that if they ask you if you need anything, just know they view you as a good ranking relative. Oh, and to let you know that they're not coming in the house, they'll tell you that they'll be back. They're about to drop the people off in the car. And just know they are not coming back for the night. Now, level 7 relatives. These are the relatives who are not really relatives, but they always around and they show up to every family function. And they usually used to date the person who owns the house, or they do handiwork, or they dated an auntie or uncle for like 15 years but never married. But they really won't talk to you because in the back of their mind, they feel like you're judging them because they never married into the family. So, level 8 relatives. Now, we gotta start being more careful. Like, bro, these are the relatives that don't really like you, and you'll never know why, because it's like something that happened between them and your parents, like before you was even born. Like, they're fake like you, but a good sign that they really don't like you is they gonna start overly complimenting your appearance. And they'll even start a conversation with you, and as soon as you get into the conversation with them, they just gonna tell you, hold on 1 second, and go do something else and go talk to other people right in front of you and never come back. So, level 9 relatives. These are the relatives that got a bunch of kids that they can't control, and they'll have a newborn with them, and at certain times they gonna want you to hold the newborn, and they gonna say weird things like, wow, she likes you, she don't never let nobody hold her, which is gonna be like a lie, because they gonna go into the living room and sit and talk with other mid-level relatives while you sit and babysit for a little while. Now, level 10 relatives. These are usually teenage relatives. They usually won't speak to you at all because they really don't want to be there. So they gonna either have on headphones or they gonna probably be on their phone. But they usually gonna look extremely fly on what they wearing or extremely weird on what they wearing. But usually they gonna have some type of hoodie on because they don't want to be bothered. Now, we're getting to the nitty gritty. Here are the high level 11 relatives. These will be the super nice and very charming, charismatic relatives that's usually like real good looking, but you know, you gonna notice like as the night winds down, the amount of alcohol and drugs they consuming, and like it's starting to be a little odd. And then they gonna start say things to you in like emotional states, and then they gonna want you to drink and smoke with them, and usually like they gonna cry to you a lot, and shit's gonna get stupid awkward. Now, nearing almost the last of the relatives, level 12 is that relative that's gonna like sit in front of the TV or listen to the music or the radio, and they ain't gonna say nothing to you because they really don't have a clue of what's going on until it's time to eat. And even then, they ain't really all that hungry. They just watching TV and listening to some music. But these are usually older relatives like a grandma or a granddad, and you might hear names people calling them like Pop or Big Mama, but they will always have a ride home from the level 4 relative who cooked the food. Just remember that. Now, the level 13 relative is a little bit dangerous because this is the relative that's been locked up a lot, found a certain religion, and technically don't celebrate Thanksgiving because of their new faith, but celebrate holidays that benefit them like Christmas and 4th of July barbecues. This is the relative that's gonna argue with you and other low-level relatives while playing games like spades, Uno. And if this relative gets too out of hand, only a level 12 relative can calm them down because they only respect names like Pop or Big Mama. Now, we get to the last and final relative, which is you. Oddly enough, you're the relative that's the glue to this whole situation. You're able to communicate with each level relative because you've always remained neutral to no matter what level relative you talk with. And trust me, you're gonna be extra tired by the end of the night, but you're gonna have the ability to recharge because out of all the odd personalities in these relatives, you still love them. And they love you too. And to show that they love you, every time you try to leave, someone's gonna try to start up a conversation with you. Even though they see you got your whole coat on, keys in your hand and everything, but that's just gonna prove they appreciated your presence. And then someone's gonna ask you which way you going home. And the thing is, it really doesn't matter which way you're going because they still gonna ask you, can you drop them off in that direction? Happy Thanksgiving.